If you have negative thoughts, don't be alarmed. You're not the only one. A study that was conducted by the National Science Foundation, it shows that around 80% of our thoughts are negative. So if you don't or can't deal with it, now you should be alarmed. Here is why. Back in the 60s, scientists have discovered what's known as the human action cycle. And this cycle says basically that our thoughts influence our emotion, and our emotion influence our behavior. So just by giving these facts, 80% of your thoughts are negative. Just by doing a simple math, you will see how much they affected your behavior. We don't know to any extent it affected it, maybe 70%, 50%, or maybe just 10. Does that sound healthy to you? Does that sound productive to someone who's looking into shaping his or her future? No, it's not. And let's be honest, guys, this thing has haunted me for years. And you could name the things that I tried to solve it. And today I'm going to share with you how I overcame this problem with an evidence-based solution. So my name is TG and I'm going to navigate you through your self-improvement journey. So buckle up by hitting the subscribe button and let's get started. So the first step to understand this process is to define what thought actually means. If you look for the term thought in the dictionary, you will find the following definition: an idea or an opinion produced by thinking or occurring suddenly in the mind. And in our context, we're talking about negative thinking, so the second part of the definition is our focus. Negative thoughts occur suddenly in the mind. So now we know exactly that our negative thoughts, they just occur in our mind, and we know that they affect our behavior. Step 1. Control the inner conversation. Now, in order to be able to influence our thoughts, in this context, stopping them, we must understand the following thing. Guys, there is an inner conversation that happens within you. You speak to yourself. And while you're speaking, you use your mother language. You use words. And this is the point that we have to master. This is the point that we have to start our influence from. So this is going to be the base of the process, to be able to control the conversation that happens within you. Step 2. Gather information. And by that I mean you have to bring a pen and a paper and start writing all of the common thoughts that they are defined for you as negative thoughts. You could name the thoughts that are disturbing you. So list all of them on one paper. So now you have gathered the information that we define as negative thoughts. We have to categorize them to two different categories. The first one I call fluff, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what is it in a moment. And the second one is a thought with a backstory, and this is the real deal. This is the one that is gonna take some time. But the fluff, let's start with the fluff. The fluff type of thoughts, and I've got some examples for you guys. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I'm not as lucky as other people. I don't think I will ever, blah, blah, blah. And the list goes on. The problem with these thoughts is that they don't have any context. There is no logical base. You cannot measure whatever these thoughts are. This type of thoughts is a part of every human being. And the only way to deal with them is to dismiss them. That's it. That's how you deal with these thoughts. And one note before we go further. Whatever you persist, which means any idea that you interact with, it gets bigger. Negative or positive. So let's take an example to a positive one. Every successful startup began as an idea. So interacting with it got it where it is now. And the same happens to negative thinking. The more you discuss this fluff with yourself, the bigger it gets. And because it doesn't have any context, you're gonna be lost. So cut the fluff and don't interact with it. Just dismiss it. Now let's talk about the thoughts with a backstory. You shouldn't ignore this type of thoughts, because if you did, there will be some consequences. Let me give you an example to a negative thought that is connected to a backstory. One common theme that we're living in our civilization is debt. Most people are diving in debt. In fact, 8 out of 10 adults in America have at least one credit card. So let's say you have debt and you have negative thoughts connected to your debt. If you ignore these thoughts, there will be, as a result, some consequences. The right way to deal with these thoughts is to solve the problem. And by solving it in the debt example, You just start the process of paying your debt. It's not gonna end up tomorrow, but you are considered working on the solution. So whenever the thought occurs again in your head, you have something to face it with. I'm working on the solution. Now, after you categorize your thoughts, you have some data and you know how to deal with them. Now you just lift up with one more task to eliminate all of these thoughts, which is to keep mentoring the inner conversation. When a fluff comes up in your mind, you have to ignore it before it gets bigger. And if your thoughts are connected to a backstory that should be solved, you have to work on solving it. This is what worked for me, and this is what will work to anybody who really is in search for a solution. With that being said, negative thinking could be life-threatening. So do not underestimate it, but also don't forget that you have now the tool to deal with them. Don't give these thoughts any chance to hunt you, because the bigger it gets, the scarier it looks. So kill it before it grows. And as always, guys, I'm gonna end up with this question. What is the most haunting thoughts that are disturbing you? Write this in the comments below. If you found some value, hit the like button. And if you're looking for more solutions, check the link in the description box. This is TG signing out. Long live heroes. Brace yourself. Game on.